Oh my lord, oh days, oh me, oh my. I am tired. So, given yesterday's video, I made a couple of assertions to you, a couple of promises to you, tribe, around what was going to happen when it comes from expectations from me towards the playtest that CG are currently doing for the new Relic Delta update that's coming at some time in the unknown future. I told you I was part of the selection of players and content creators that are all getting involved, and I told you that I will be candid with you about what my feedback is going to be. Thank you, by the way, to the hundreds of people that have flooded into the Discord to give their feedback and their messages. I really appreciate it. If you want to do so as well, my Discord is linked in the description. It will probably be pinned in a comment down below as well. More feedback, more good, guys, okay? One of the things that I promised you is that I would tell you exactly what I will be telling CG in terms of my recommendations. So I'm going to keep that transparency nice and clear. I've had about 24 hours at this point, not even 24 hours at this point, of messing around and testing the things that I am able to do within this playtest environment that they've given us access to. And we spoke a little bit about sort of, what is the current scaling of this Relic Delta? One of the things that I want to say first and foremost, before I talk about what the feedback I've given directly to CG about this, is that we get hung up a little bit on, R5 to R9. It's not, we use the terminology R5 to R9 as that, Relic Delta. The Relic Delta exists from all tiers, all tiers. So it's just the gap in Relic levels. So if you're Relic 1 going up against Relic 5, that's the same thing as Relic 5 going up against Relic 9 in terms of how that scaling affects. Another thing, it's not an offense and defensive boost. It's a damage increased and a damage reduction modifier, essentially, at the end of all damage calculations. It's more similar to the Galactic Legend Unique. It says at the end of the Galactic Legend Unique, all damage received is reduced by 30%. It works like that, okay? So ultimately, it means that it just gets tacked on at the end. Say you are going to do 100,000 damage, you're going to do 5,000 instead. Or say you're going to do 100,000 damage, you're going to do 195,000 damage instead. That sort of thing at the very top end, okay? So the first bit of feedback that I gave CG was this. Don't do it. Like at all. First bit I said, I know you've asked for constructive feedback. And I will get to constructive feedback. However, I do want to put out my personal opinion that this should not be in the game. I don't think this is conducive to a healthy working environment. I don't think this encourages players to feel good about the investments that they've made in the roster already. And I feel like it devalues the game in a number of ways. I feel like it addresses one problem, which is, why is it I've got some Relic 9 teams that can get beat by Relic 5 teams? It's like, sometimes it doesn't feel like that Relic investment doesn't matter enough. And that is true in a lot of cases. There's a reason why we don't take, when anybody asks for, who should I Relic 9 next? The feedback is always, go for your requirements, right? Go for things like, get your Admiral Radus because you need it for Profundity. Get your Darth Revan and your Malak because you need it for the Leviathan. Get, whatever is a requirement for an unlock. That's where you go for R9s. Outside of that, it's get your tanks. Get your Galactic Legends, right? Because going to high Relic levels is difficult still, even to this day. It's a difficult, big investment. And we want to make sure that when we make those investments, that we're actually going to see some tangible benefits of it. And the real issue there is that we don't want to take our attackers and our support characters and our healers up to Relic 9 because it doesn't feel like a good investment. So that's something that they are trying to address, I guess, to a certain degree. However, it's fixing it in this way just gives rise to too many problems elsewhere. It gives rise to too many problems in too many other game modes. So the most difficult one to address, I think, has to be Conquest. I think hard mode Conquest, for some players, will become a lot easier. Okay? For big 14 million GP accounts, Conquest will be easier, because you might have several teams with R9 characters. For some, it's going to be nigh on impossible to clear hard mode Conquest. If you are 4 million GP and you just got into hard mode Conquest, and you used to be able to clear through Sector 5, now that's going to be so much more difficult, because Sector 5 has got Relic 8 characters, which means unless you have got Relic 8 characters and a decent amount of them to actually clear through that zone in a reasonable amount of time, you are going to struggle. And then it gets exacerbated by what are the actual feats for that sector? What teams do I have to be able to have at certain relic levels to make this even feasible? The other flip side of the coin is that, what about the feats where we need characters to survive or debuffs to be done? What if I've got Relic 9 characters and it's the only character that can put out, a decent amount of doubt? Like your Malgus, for example, but he's Relic 9, and now he just one-shots everything and you can't put out the debuffs that you need to put out, that sort of thing. It causes a lot of issues in Conquest, and I think it disparages or makes it very difficult for lower GP characters to engage in that game mode. And there can be an argument to say, well, Conquest, red boxing a Conquest should be an end game goal. Maybe it is, but I mean, the player base has already gotten used to being able to get those rewards and being able to perform there, and now it's making it feel very, very difficult. It feels like you're getting pushed back for no good reason. I do acknowledge that on the flip side of things, other areas of the game will become easier for most people. Territory battles will always either be easier or just the same. And that's a good thing. That's a positive movement. The raids will either be easier or just the same. That's a good thing, right? The problem stems from, and Proving Grounds, for example. Proving Grounds, I believe, are locked at Relic 3. So that's going to be easier or just the same for basically everybody. Much of the Journey Guide events, that sort of thing. But we also have things like GAC and Territory Wars, which already suffer from bad matchmaking, where I see it all the time on my alt account. It's a completely free-to-play alt account. It's about 2.1, 2.2 million GP. And I'm constantly getting faced up with rosters that are between 6 and 10 million GP. And I can beat some of these teams. And they can't clear my fleet because I've got an Executor and they can't deal with the Executor. But some of the teams there might be R7 Darth Revan, and I can beat them currently with lower relic characters. But in the future, based on the current metrics, that's not going to happen. That won't happen at all, because I've seen the damage that we currently have in this current proposed state, which means we're doing less than 1,000 damage a hit. This is the stupidest one. I took in my R9 Cup versus R5 Layer. It was a full team. Granted, they've got no mods, there's no datacrons, there's nothing like that. And it took I didn't get a turn with my Cup, but it took that Layer team 3 minutes at Relic 5 to kill Cup. And my Cup was not modded well. Like, it's got garbage mods. But 3 minutes of them wailing away on my Cup to kill it. That's a way overcorrection. It's a way overcorrection. So, as I'm saying, this is what I told CG. First of all, I don't think it should be implemented at all, but I don't see that as a likely possibility. Okay? Because I think that it addresses a small problem badly, and that the repercussions of addressing that small problem make too many new problems for different areas of the game. And I think it will be to the detriment of the player base, and I think we will see live player counts bottom out. I think people will leave the game in droves, and I love this game. I want to play this game. It's why I have a YouTube channel dedicated to it. It's why I've been doing this for 5-6 years now. It's why I put so much time and effort into it. And money, frankly. Okay? And I am a whale. And I've got, not loads of R9s, but I've got like 50 odd R9s, 52 R9s, and probably about the same number of R8s and 100 plus R7s. I'm going to be at least a little bit benefiting from this change, but I don't want this change. I don't want this change at all. So I acknowledge that this is probably going one way or another. This change is going to go through. Okay? So the only thing that I can do here is try my best to form arguments as to why the ramping of these stats should be much, much lower. If this is going to be a thing, like, instead of it being 20% at 1 relic difference, 45% at 2 relic difference, 75% at 3 relic difference, and 95% at 4 relic difference. I think it should be like 5% per relic level difference, you know? Now, from what I gathered with the discussion with CG, they seem pretty adamant that they wanted it to be a full relic delta. So they don't want to try and spread it across a wider range of like relic 1 to relic 9, you know, so up to like a 9 relic difference. So if they want to keep it at 4 relic, like, let's make that damage scaling just be as low as we can possibly go. If they can go lower than 5, sure, but we really got to see how it plays. I personally have vouched for give us the opportunity to test how this damage output looks at when you've just got a 5% offense modifier per relic level difference. And then for the defensive side, maybe it'll be okay at the 5% range, right? The damage reduction side of things. But honestly, like, half it, like, just like 2.5%. Because there shouldn't be a situation where an R9 cup lasts for 3 minutes against a full GL layer team. Granted, out of, you know, 4 relic delta, but that shouldn't exist. Like, just the very, like, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, that in our current meta, that's nearly a timeout. That's over half a match of just smashing away at one character. So could you have really stupid defensive teams full of trashy platoon characters that you've taken up to Relic 9 for TB, for example? Stupid idea, but, you know, could you have just the equivalent of 5 R9 cups and just throw it on defense with no real synergy? But because the enemy is now going to have to take in an actually very strong team to try and clear that, they couldn't even piecemeal it because you just do no damage. Like, it's just silly. So the damage reduction side of things I completely disagree with. I don't think it should happen. So that's the feedback that I've gone back with. And then there's one other instance, and I'm sure there's going to be many instances of this, right? Is Jedi Master Luke. In particular, the way his kit works, he gets unfairly punished for this, in my opinion, unfairly punished. Under his leadership, he has an ability called Inherited Teachings, where he will call a light side ally to assist and deal true damage to the enemy based on 60% of his max protection, essentially. And it's his base max protection, so essentially base plus modding and datacrons. Right? The problem with that ability is when he's in the leadership, anybody can use that. And the damage is based on that now under this new regime, is based on the character that gets called to assist. So if it's JML using it, people take him to Relic 9 quite frequently because he gets a massive protection boost which transfers into greater amounts of damage. And he'll call that character to assist, and they'll do 60% of his base protection, base max protection. Now, that is going to be increased or reduced by the relic level of that character compared to the character he's attacking. So it completely undermines some of the massive cheeses that we get to use with JML. So like conquest characters taking in low gear characters. Now when you call them to assist, they're going to do no damage. Right? So trying to get kills with brand new marquees that are light side that you just haven't geared up, or just general characters that you haven't geared up. That's going to take away one feather in Luke's cap that I feel he doesn't deserve. Because he's already not the greatest offensive or defensive galactic legend. It's not like he's GL Leia, arguably, or inarguably, the best PvP galactic legend in the game. He's now getting punished unfairly. Not everybody takes up characters like Jedi Knight Revan to Relic 9, or Relic 7, or Relic 8. You know, he might be at Relic 5 for a lot of people. There's still Relic 5 on my 14 million GP account. I've even got Jedi Knight Luke at Relic 7. Do you know what I mean? So that damage has now been reduced, most likely, in most scenarios where I use them if I'm going up against heavier relic-invested teams. And it doesn't feel like that. It feels like Luke is being punished. The GL is being punished because of this, because of other characters on his rosters. And there are cases like that that are going to crop up. The other side of it is, of course, is things like thermal detonators and burn damage and exposes and all that sort of thing. Is considered to be self-damage. That does not get altered at all by relic modifiers. So you might have lower relic teams that have got a lot of exposes or a lot of dots or a lot of thermal detonators, and those people will actually not be as impacted by this. So it's just lots of weird little instances like that that can happen. So yeah, I've asked CG to let us test in the next build. We also haven't been able to test in stuff like Conquest, Territory Wars, Raids, GAC. So we can't test things like GAC armies and Territory War armies and things like that. That stuff can apparently come and change in the next build. So it just relies on feedback. That's where I want to push it. But the door is open here, guys. I still want you to talk to me. I still want you to give me your thoughts. I'm giving you my thoughts, obviously. I want you guys to give me your thoughts. You know, the more feedback, the better, that we can try and make this done. And I can say I've given you examples already of how much damage these current setups do in this approach right now. I will give you a rundown of how much damage, you know, it'll do if whatever the next scaling set is. All right. Okay, cool. Please give this a like. Comment down below with what your feedback is. Pretty please. Let's do some damage control.